All right, it's refactoring time. Currently, we've got two state variables here, but as we add more features, we'll need even more variables for tracking things like sort order and search phrases. Adding a bunch of variables here and passing them around is just ugly. It causes clutter in our code and makes it stink. So what can we do here? We should pack related variables inside an object. So here we'll use what we call the query object pattern. So we'll create a query object that contains all the information we need to query the games. With this, our code will be cleaner and easier to understand. So here we're going to define an interface called game query. In this interface, we'll add two properties, genre, which can be a genre object or null, as well as platform, which can be a platform or null. Now, I didn't call these selected genre or selected platform. This is repetitive, okay? Now we're going to replace these two state variables with a state variable of type game query. So let's get rid of these ugly variables. Instead, we create a new variable of type game query. We initialize it to an empty object, not null, because we'll always have a query object, but the properties of this object may be null, okay? Now here we have a compilation error saying argument of type whatever is not assignable to parameter of type game query. So the TypeScript compiler doesn't allow us to assign an empty object to a game query object. To get rid of this error, we have to type as game query. Okay. Now we call this variable game query and the function set game query. Now we have a bunch of errors here. We have to fix them one by one. The first one is here. So instead of passing selected genre, we pass game query dot genre. Now, instead of set selected genre, we have to call set game query. Here we should pass a new object. First we spread our game query, and then we add the new genre, like this. Now, similarly, here we should replace selected platform with game query dot platform. One more here. Here we should replace selected genre with game query dot genre, and set selected platform with set game query. Here we pass a new object. First we spread the existing game query and then add the platform. Okay, I believe there are no other errors here. Now we need to use the same technique in our game grid. So let's go over here. Instead of passing a bunch of variables here, we should pass an object. So let's change the props and add game query of type game query. Now we need to import this. So first we need to export it from our app component. So up here, let's export this interface. Good. Now we import it on the top. Lovely. Next, we remove these ugly properties. And that means over here, we should only grab game query. Now that we have this game query, we can also pass it to our game's hook. So instead of passing multiple arguments, which is very ugly, we pass a single object that has everything we need. So game query. Now we need to modify this hook. So here we replace these two parameters with game query of type game query. Let's import it. Save the changes. Good. Now this is the only place where we're going to work with individual values. So when calling the server, here we should pass game query dot genre and also game query dot platform. Now for our dependencies array, we don't need to pass individual values. Instead, we can pass our game query object. So anytime this object changes, we need to refetch the data. Now with these changes, we have an issue in our app component. So let's see what's happening. All right, because we changed the props of game grid, now we don't have selected platform and selected genre. So here we should set game query to game query and then get rid of selected genre. Our code is much cleaner. Now let's test our application. So let's select the genre. Good. Let's also select a platform. Lovely. So let's make a commit and say refactor extract a query object.